2021 meeting of the Newberg Planning Commission. And can we get a roll call, please?
Sure. Jason Dale,
Here.
Robert Sherry,
Here.
Charles Aben,
Here.
Gina Morris, Chris Wright,
Here.
Sharon Capri, Jeffrey Musall,
Here.
Aiden Gray.
Here.
Did you get me, you guys?
Oh,
There,
got you now.
I was muted, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, welcome everyone. And this time I'd like to ask if there are any public comments for items not on the agenda. Do we have anyone? No one in the rooms? Okay, let's move on then to consent calendar and review our minutes from the last meeting. And
Planning Commissioner Wright moves to approve Planning Commission meeting minutes for September 9th, 2021.
you have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a second, a motion and a second, and a quick vote. Can we just get all in favor with an aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It carries, so let's move on.
So, Mr.
And-
Chair, I'd like to interject here for a moment, and I'd like to introduce our newest planner. So,
Oh, wow.
Mary Heberling Crichton is with us tonight. So she is our new housing planner. You have in the past seen the 5-year work program we have on housing initiatives. So Mary's going to be working on all of that. So there'll be a variety of things that will be coming back in front of you over time as we move forward with all of that. So Mary, welcome. She's here to observe Planning Commission this evening, so we can see how this process works in Newberg. Mary comes to us from the city of Milwaukee.
Not
Welcome,
Wisconsin.
Mary.
Oregon,
The Oregon
not
one.
Wisconsin.
No.
Milwaukee, that's where the beer is from, right?
Yeah,
Oh.
right.
Well, welcome.
Also, our student planner is on here, Aiden Gray.
Welcome, Hayden.
So Aiden is new as well. So Aiden and I still need to have a conversation, but he is here. So once I have the conversation with him, we will gear him up to read the legal language before hearings. She is that I will read the hearing language this evening, but we'll get back into the protocols as we get through the course of this
Sounds
particular
good.
calendar year. So
Sounds
I
good. Yeah, it
apologize.
looks like,
I was gone for a while, so I'm still trying to catch up.
no worries. Yeah, it looks like there will be a little bit of reading tonight. So of the different items. So let's move on. And up first, we have a quasi-judicial public hearing on a conditional use permit to approve to use a single-family dwelling as a vacation rental home that's located on 1524 2nd Street. So the purpose of the meeting is to go over that and to either approve or make a motion on it. And the testimony procedure, if anyone wants to testify, they will be allowed 5 minutes. Proponents going first, then opponents, and then a chance to rebut. And at this time, I'd like to call for any abstentions or any bias, ex parte contract, or objections to jurisdiction.
Planning Commissioner Wright, I drive by the property arbitrarily through my daily commerce. That's all.
Well, thank you. Oh, my battery's acting up. Okay. Any others? No? Okay, so sorry, my cord was unplugged there. So at this time, I'd like to go to the staff report, Doug.
Well, first of all, I need to read the legal announcement.
Okay.
As this is a quasi-judicial hearing. So ORS 197-763 requires certain statements to be made at the commencement of a public hearing. I'm sitting in a little bit of the dark this evening. The applicable city and state zoning criteria must be listed. This means that we must advise you of the standards that must be satisfied by the applicant prior to our approval of an application. The planning staff will list the applicable criteria during his or her presentation of the staff report. Persons wishing to participate in this hearing must direct their testimony or the evidence toward the criteria stated by the planner or other specific city or state criteria which you believe apply. You must tell us why the testimony or evidence relates to the criteria. Any issue which might be raised in an appeal of this case to the Land Use Board of Appeals, LUBA, must be raised in person or by letter at the local level prior to the city approving or denying the application. The law states that the issue must be raised in enough detail to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond. This part of the law is also known as the raise it or waive it requirement. If you do not bring it up now, you cannot bring it up at LUBA. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval in enough detail to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issue precludes action for damages in circuit court. Prior to the conclusion of the initial evidentiary hearing on an application, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence or testimony regarding the application. The Planning Commission will grant such a request through a continuance or extension of the record. That is the legal announcement.
All right, thank you. So will you be doing the staff report this evening?
I will, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
So,
well, you
Robin,
are up.
Would you like to pull up the PowerPoint, please? So what we have before us this evening is a vacation rental at 1524 East 2nd Street. Case number is CUP 21-0004. Next slide. The applicant and owner in this case is John Laney. The request is for a CUP to use an existing 3-bedroom single-family home as a vacation rental. As listed in your application, the family is out of the country part of the year and they would be using the home as a vacation rental when they are not in Newberg. As we noted, it's at 1524 East 2nd Street. The tax map and lot number is listed. I don't want to go through all the numbers this evening. It's in the R2 zone and the applicable criteria 15.225060, which is the conditional use criteria. And then also the vacation rental home criteria, which is 15.445033, 300 through 15.445350. Should always remember to remind myself to enter the entire staff report into the record. Next slide. So this is the location. So the property is located in red. It's off of the 2nd Street. There's actually an access easement that gets them access out to 2nd Street. So there is a home in front of this home immediately to the north. It's in the R3 zone. R2. Next slide, please. GIS is. So here's a picture of the front of the home. It's a new home that was constructed. This is a parcel that actually had some previous land use action that created the lot at the rear of the original lot. Next slide. Criteria. So 15.225060. So this deals with location, size, design, and operating characteristics. So the home is about 1/3 of a mile to the east of downtown, so walkable distance. Homes around it are single-family homes. And there are 2 off-street parking spaces provided. So there's spaces in front of the garage as well as spaces within the garage. Next slide. dealing with 15.225060, dealing with location and design. The finding we have here is, and also with the development is consistent with the code, it's attractive for a vacation rental. It's proximity to downtown, it's proximity to George Fox University. And as we've had other conditional use applications for vacation rentals, access to wineries and agriculture or agritourism and other outdoor activities that exist in and around Newberg. So I noted there are 2 parking spaces. And the home characteristics would generally operate very similar to those of a traditional detached single-family home in this area. Next slide. One back, thank you. Vacation rental criteria, as we've already noted, the location on East 2nd Street. The owner would be required to register with the city as a transient lodging facility. And so as they would use the facility or the home for vacation rental, there is transient lodging tax that must be paid to the city, and there's a separate process they have to go through with the finance department. As I noted, there are 2 parking spaces in front. The maximum occupancy, because there's 3 bedrooms in this home, would be 6. And as written in our regulations, individuals using the home as a vacation rental cannot have RVs, tents, or any other type of temporary shelters. Our regulations also require that the owner place a sign, typically that's inside the home, at the door or near the door, which provides the contact information for police, what the vacation rental standards are, the maximum occupancy, what days garbage pickup occurs. Next slide. So staff's recommendation is that the commission move to adopt Planning Commission Order 2021-07 with the conditions listed for CUP 21-0004 at 1524 East 2nd Street. That concludes my presentation, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you, Doug. At this time, I'd like to ask, is there a proponent of the proposal that would like to speak?
So this one, Robin, we want to promote John Laney.
There we are.
Well, good evening.
Thank you. Appreciate the consideration of the application. So I really believe that the application stands for itself. As far as I'm concerned, this is our family home. It's got 90% of our possessions in it. It has our neighbors. It's where my mother and father-in-law live, and it's where we're coming home to over the summer and Christmas. So the reason we're renting it out is simply so we can come down to Mexico, which is where we are now during the academic year, and work down here in Mexico. The other thing I'd like to note is the management, because this is our home. We want to ensure that both the home and the neighborhood's been taken care of to the highest possible standards. That's why we partnered with Megan Carta of Lifestyle Property Management, which is a Newberg based management company for vacation rentals. And Megan should be on here right now. She doesn't need to speak, but she's also on here listening in the event that there are any questions for her. So pending any questions, it's really the only 2 comments I wanted to add.
Well, thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Chris, did you have a question?
Well, I looked up the company through the Better Business Bureau and other things, and I found absolutely no complaints whatsoever. So no, I do not have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners have any questions? Hearing none, I'll ask, are there any opponents to the proposal that would like to speak?
Commissioner, I see no one indicating they wish to
Okay.
speak.
Okay. All right, then I suppose we'll turn it back to staff for any final comments.
Staff's final comments in this particular situation is to approve the order as listed in your staff report.
Thank you. And so we'll go ahead and we'll close the public testimony portion as well and ask for any comments from commissioners. Well, hearing none.
I have a comment.
Okay. Go ahead, Robert.
That's a very nice looking residence.
It is. And actually, it sounds like a smart use of the property as well, where they're going to be outside for the academic year. Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right. Do we have a motion?
Planning Commissioner Wright, Order 2021-07 to approve CUP 21-004, including attachments A and B for approval for vacation rental home at 1524 East 2nd Street.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Jason Dale,
Yes.
Robert Cherry,
Yes.
Charles Adam,
Yes.
Chris Wright,
Yes.
Sharon Capri,
Yes.
and Jeffrey Musoff.
Yes. So with that, the motion passes, and congratulations, Mr. Laney. And thank you for your time. Okay. So at this time, let's move on to our next, which is another quasi-judicial hearing. This one concerns a conditional use permit to use a single-family dwelling as a vacation rental home located at 521 East Taylor Drive. I'd like to remind everyone again, there will be a time for public comments. Proponents will go first, then opponents, and each will be given 5 minutes to speak. And I'd like to call for any abstentions, any bias, ex parte contact, and any objections to jurisdiction that anyone might have. Hearing none, we'll go ahead and do the reading.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So ORS 197-763 requires certain statements to be made at the commencement of a public hearing. The applicable city and state zoning criteria must be listed. This means that we must advise you of the standards that must be satisfied by the applicant prior to our approval of the application. The planning staff will list the applicable criteria during his or her presentation of the staff report. Persons wishing to participate in this hearing must direct their testimony or the evidence towards the criteria stated by the planner or other specific city or state criteria which you believe apply. You must tell us why the testimony or evidence relates to the criteria. Any issue which might be raised in the appeal of this case to the Land Use Board of Appeals, LUBA, must be raised in person or by letter at the local level prior to the city approving or denying the application. The law states that the issue must be raised in enough detail to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond. This part of the law is known as the raise it or waive it requirement. If you do not bring it up now, you cannot bring it up at LUBA. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval in enough detail to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Prior to the conclusion of the initial evidentiary hearing on an application, any party or any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence or testimony regarding the application. The Planning Commission will grant such a request through a continuance or extension of the record. That is the legal language, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. And now to the staff report. Is that you as well?
That is me. So Robin, PowerPoint. So this is another vacation rental application at 521 East Taylor Drive, and it's CUP 21-0005. So I will enter the entire staff report into the record. Next slide. The applicant owner in this situation is Amanda Bolliger. The request is for a CUP to use an existing 5-bedroom single-family dwelling as a vacation rental. It's noted the location is at 521 East Taylor, and it lists the tax lot, map and lot on the slide. The zoning in this case is R1, and the applicable criteria are 15.225060, which is the conditional use criteria for a type 3, and 15.445300 through 15.445350 for vacation rental homes. Next slide. The map here identifies the location. I'm sorry, I messed up on the slide. That's supposed to say 521 East Taylor. So my bad, but you can see in the red outline the location of the property, which is in this situation is up in the north part of Newberg. Next slide. This is the home. So a picture taken from Taylor Drive. Next slide. Criteria 15.225060. So location, size, and design and operating characteristics. So this is similar to your last case. It's an existing single family home. In this situation, the home is approximately 2 miles north of downtown. It's similar to existing regular residential uses that exist in this newer subdivision. And there are 2 off-street parking spaces provided, as you saw on the previous slide, plus there are spaces within the garage. Next slide. 15.225060 B, the location and design, and C, the proposed development consistent. So in this situation, staff looked at it and said it's attractive for a vacation rental due to its proximity to downtown. As I mentioned, it's 2 miles. And those regional attractions, which are wineries and agritourism that exist in and around Newberg. There are 2 existing parking spaces, as noted on the photo on a previous slide. And the use is compatible with other residential uses within this particular neighborhood. Next slide. The vacation rental criteria, so 521 East Taylor, again, is a single family home. It is required to be registered with the city as a vacation rental and pay the appropriate transient lodging tax. There's a separate process they need to go through with the finance department to do that registration. There are 2 off-street parking spaces. In this case, this home has 5 rooms, and so maximum occupancy would be 10. Our regulations do require that you can't have RVs and tents and other temporary structures. And then there is the posting requirement that is required near the front door in the residence, giving contact information for police, our vacation rental standards, which are detailed out in your staff report, the maximum occupancy that's allowed, and the garbage pickup days that would occur. Next slide. So staff's recommendation on this one is move to adopt Planning Commission Order 20, excuse me, pop up on my screen. Order number 2021-08, which is a conditional use permit for CUP 21-005 for a vacation rental home at 521 East Taylor. That was my presentation, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you, Doug. So at this time, we'd like to offer public testimony, beginning with any proponents of the proposal that would like to speak. Is there anyone in the room?
Amanda is, let me promote her.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name's Amanda Bolliger. This is my home that you are considering, and I just wanted to start by thanking everyone for your time and consideration and for all of the very helpful advice that I've gotten through the application process from the Planning Commission staff and the city. This is the first time that I have applied for any kind of a permit and certainly for a vacation rental permit. It's the first time I have set up a vacation rental. Just by way of background, I'm from this area. I have family in Newberg and in Sherwood. This is where I intend to be in the long term. And that's why I purchased this property. For the short term, my job has taken me to Los Angeles. And so the reason that I have requested permission to have this as a short-term rental is that so I can continue to use the home. I come regularly to see family, usually, multiple times a year, sometimes even on a monthly basis. I plan to be home for the holidays, for extended periods during the summer, and to be able to spend time with family. And so I have family in the wine business, and it was suggested to me that this could be a sort of a way to have people have more opportunities to stay in the area in a nice home, while I can also still use the property myself. So that's the intention. I do have one update from my application. I had initially intended to use Vacasa Property Management because I do want to make sure that there's a 24/7 availability to resolve any concerns, to make sure that this is professionally handled at all times. And I have since learned that actually Lifestyle Properties, who was just mentioned by the last applicant that you heard from, is here in Newberg and has wonderful reputation. And so I've actually met with Megan, and my intention is to enter into an agreement with her at Lifestyle Properties to manage this property as well if the permit is approved. So I did want to provide that update. I wanted to keep the business local to the maximum extent possible.
Well, thank you. Is there anyone else in favor that would like to speak?
Seeing no hands.
Okay, well, seeing and hearing no one, are there any opponents of the proposal that would like to speak?
So, Mr. Chair, at this point, while Robin is looking at that, there was a supplemental packet that was sent out to you on Monday afternoon where we received a series of comments from residents within the neighborhood area.
So the comments are entered onto the record, or any of them present that would like to speak?
They are into the record because they are part of the staff report. And so Robin will look to see if there are any individuals who would like to verbally speak.
Okay.
Seeing no indication, Chairman.
Well, thank you. And as Doug noted, there are some opponents that are entered into the report here. And just had some concerns, but that's something we can talk about when we deliberate. So at this time, I go ahead and close the public testimony portion and ask for final comments from staff.
So as I noted, staff's recommendation in this particular case is to adopt Planning Commission order number 2021-08.
Thank you, Doug. So let's open it up to deliberation. Any questions or comments from commissioners?
Yes, I have a comment. Planning Commissioner Wright. I do understand the concerns of the neighborhood with all the children present, but I do want to bring up the fact that anybody who has a driving license in the state of Oregon, I looked up some criteria about that. And when you get a license, you agree to all the things they lay out in the driving manual. And it does have provisions in there for making safe. Let me see if I can do this. Okay, children at play, be extra careful in residential areas and places where children are likely to be. Do not drive too close to parked cars that may block your view. Be watchful for when backing in or out of a driveway. Children are unprecedented and may run or playing. So these things are really brought to the attention of drivers. already, and you agreed to abide by this. And I know some people have commented about people making money off their properties, and I do believe that cities have always made home occupancy permits options as well. So I don't think there are avenues for people to make money off their properties other than this as well, that have been here historically. Even though I understand the concerns, and looking up Eugene, Oregon, they have had an increase in 180% from 2014 to 2016. So does the city consider, is there any ability to put a cap on the amount of short-term rental units overall in the city, or is that something the city can even legally do?
So Commissioner, yes. So in our housing work program, one of the things that we have identified is to monitor the vacation rental numbers that are being approved, or at least applications that are being made, and then those that are being approved within the city of Newberg. There are a variety of different communities throughout the state of Oregon. A lot of those you will see either along the Columbia Gorge or the Oregon coast or in Central Oregon, who have developed regulations that sometimes they have a distance separation number to regulate the number of units. Others have put a cap on the number of vacation rentals that could be allowed within a community. So at this point in time, the city council is aware. They did approve the housing work program, but that, like I mentioned, we're kind of doing the monitoring at this point in time and keeping track, but it's a future item to look at. And so that would be one of Mary's tasks in the future. And look at, should we propose modifications to our vacation rental regulations from what they are today?
All right, thank you, Doug.
Mr. Chairman, it looks like one of the either proponents or opponents has his hand up. Are we allowing that, or we passed that part?
So
I
Mr.
can reopen the public testimony portion, correct?
You can, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
Would you
so
like
at
to
this
do that?
time, this time let's reopen the public comment portion of the hearing and allow the person to speak. So go ahead.
Rick, did you have a comment? Let's see if he'll unmute. Changed his mind, I guess.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close the public testimony portion once again and move on to any further deliberations. Anyone else, any commissioners like to add anything?
I would, Commissioner Capri, I just wonder of the occupancy, up to 15 people. It just seems like a lot for a residential neighborhood. The neighbors are concerned because of the children. I just wonder if there's, I know because it's 2 people per bedroom, but is that something that could be considered, that there would be a cap to the amount of people a home could hold as a vacation rental?
So Commissioner, yes, you could put a cap. So in this situation, there are 5 bedrooms, 2 individuals per room. So that's actually a maximum of 10. The Planning Commission could put a cap. So theoretically, you could say a cap of 8 or a cap of 6, but you would need to develop appropriate findings as to why you are putting that cap on. And then you'd have to make a motion for that finding. You'd need a second, and you would need to vote on it. And then you would then move back to your consideration of the overall package with that amendment. And that would require staff to take the findings that the commission develops and make adjustments to the staff before the chair could sign it.
I understand that. But I can also see the neighbor's concern. I don't know what I'm looking at then. I have this, I guess it's the standards, up to a maximum of 15 people.
That's right. In our code, there is a maximum cap of 15 in vacation rental, but then the substandard of all of that is 2 per bedroom. So in this situation,
I see.
10 rooms, a maximum of 10.
Okay. Thank you.
And thank you. Anyone else like to add anything?
I just need to say that the other commissioners are here. Chris is here. I just accidentally hit the button to remove the ones who don't have their videos. Not remove them, but just remove them from the room. So I'm trying to get them back.
Okay.
They are here though. They can hear you.
Okay, thank you. And while we wait for everyone to come back, I have just a quick question for Doug, if I could.
Go ahead, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I was just, and it kind of relates back to the other one too. And this person as well, where they're going to be either for work or something else out of the area, a substantial amount of time and then back. Is there a limit on, say, when a property has to be permitted to be a vacation rental? Is it like a 30 days they're going to be renting it out or something? You know what I'm asking?
Yeah, so in our conditional use criteria is you have 1 year to activate the use per the approval. And then for vacation rentals, if it's 30 days or less, it's considered a short-term rental, a vacation rental. If it's more than 30 days, then it's considered a long-term rental and it does not need vacation rental approval.
Oh, I understand, but that's, you know, that's per individual rental person. But is there an overall standard on the property where a property has to be available? You know what I mean?
Well, that would get into issues about codes, covenants, and restrictions. And so the situation is that the property owner would have to abide by any CC&Rs that may apply to that property.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Any other comments or questions or from commissioners?
And I
Yes.
should say, Mr. Chair, just
Okay.
one thing is that the city does not enforce CC&Rs. That is a private matter between property owners.
Indeed. Okay.
Ms. Bollinger, this is Commissioner Wright. Was your property, did you originally purchase your property as a 3-bedroom?
This is Ms. Bollinger. Wasn't she on the first?
No, she was on this case.
Is she still with us?
Let me see. I think she is. Yes. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Amanda, go ahead.
Hi, Amanda. This is Commissioner Wright. Did you originally purchase your home as a 3-bedroom?
She needs to unmute herself. Hold on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
There we go. No, that's not actually correct. It was a 4-bedroom when I purchased it with an office. And so the office is now a bedroom by virtue of having a wardrobe system set up in it. And so that's the development there.
Can you tell me the dimensions of that office, please? In square footage?
Oh,
Like a 5x10 room, 4x10, anything like that?
it's about 10 by 12 feet, I would estimate.
Okay, so well over the 70 feet required for a room. All right, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much. No further questions.
Well, thank you. Anyone else have anything they'd like to add? Well, hearing nothing at this point, let's go ahead into action. And is anyone want to offer a motion?
Yeah, Commissioner Wright, Planning Commission approval, moves to approve conditional use permit CUP 21-005 for vacation rental, PC hearing 2021-08, including attachments A and B for property 521 East Taylor Drive.
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and get a roll call vote if we could.
Okay, Jason Dale,
Yes.
Robert Sherry,
Yes.
Charles Aben,
Yes.
Chris Wright,
Yes.
Sharon Capri,
Yes.
Jeffrey Musall.
Yes. Okay, so at this time, the motion passes. And congratulations and to the homeowner, and we will move on to our next item, which is yet another conditional use quasi-judicial hearing about a conditional use permit approval for Oregon Liquor Control Commission regulated adult use marijuana processing facility located at 1015 North Springbrook Road. And the purpose of our hearing is to consider the approval, and there will be a time for public testimony. We'll limit it to 5 minutes per person. Proponents will go first, and then opponents can have a chance to answer. And go ahead and call for abstentions, any bias, ex parte contact, and objections to jurisdiction that anyone might have. Well, hearing none, we'll go back to Doug for the reading.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. ORS 197-763 requires certain statements be made at the commencement of a public hearing. The applicable city and state zoning criteria must be listed. This means that we must advise you of the standards that must be satisfied by the applicant prior to the approval of an application. The planning staff will list the applicable criteria during his or her presentation of the staff report. Persons wishing to participate in this hearing must direct their testimony or the evidence towards the criteria stated by the planner or other specific city or state criteria which you believe apply. You must tell us why the testimony or evidence relates to the criteria. Any issue which might be raised in an appeal of this case to the Land Use Board of Appeals, LUBA, must be raised in person or by letter at the local level prior to the city approving or denying the application. The law states that the issue must be raised in enough detail to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond. This part of the law is known as the raise it or waive it requirement. If you do not bring it up now, you cannot bring it up at LUBA. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to the proposed conditions of approval in enough detail to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issue precludes action for damages in circuit court. Prior to conclusion of the initial evidentiary hearing on an application, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence or testimony regarding the application. The Planning Commission will grant such a request through a continuance or extension of the record. That is the legal language, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you. So let's go ahead with staff report now.
And I'm up again.
Indeed. Good night.
So, first of all, I will enter the entire staff report into the record. So what we have this evening is a marijuana processing facility at 1015 North Springbrook Road at CUP 21-0006. I should note, and it's noted in your staff report, prior planning commissions have approved this project twice. The issue at play is the land use approval is expiring before the Oregon Liquor Control Commission issues the required license and or certificates for this particular operation. Next slide. So the applicant in this case is Anthony Stewart. Anthony has been in front of the Planning Commission twice before, and the property owners are Ralston and Ralston LLC. And why I put together PowerPoints and I didn't pay attention, but this is a request for a marijuana processing facility, not a vacation rental. It's 1015 North Springbrook, tax map and lot number. It's in the C2 zone, and it's also in the airport overlay. The applicable criteria for this case is 15225-060. Next slide. So the location is just north of Portland Road, which is Highway 99W, just behind the remodeled and now Chipotle Grill. Western Oregon Dispensary has the building that's on the south side of this property, and the use that they're proposing is in a former bank building. Next slide. Here's the zoning of the C2 of the property. So properties to the north, south, east, and west are also have the same zoning. Next slide. Development code criteria 15225-060. So this gets the location, design, and size of the site. So surrounding uses in this situation is Springbrook Plaza is to the east across Springbrook Road. Newberg Professional Building is to the west. Jack in the Box or the 76, which Jack in the Box is now the Chipotle Grill. And the site is about 0.74 acres in size. And as I mentioned earlier, there are two buildings on site. There is vehicle parking on the site. And the proposal complies with 15225-060 with conditions of approval, which I will go through. Next slide. 15225-060 location design. If there are any new utility connections, and I should say in this situation is that the property owner has applied for building permits, and there actually has been remodeling that's going on in this particular building. But what we did is we pulled the conditions forward from the last conditional use approval. But any service utility connections all need to be underground. Because of this type of operation, they need to have a grease interceptor in the building. And so that's part of our FOG program, our fats, oils, and grease, to make sure that our wastewater treatment plant can operate correctly. The other piece is that during the remodel, if they needed any erosion control permits, is that they would need to get those approvals. Next slide. One back, Robin, please. Proposed development. And so in this situation, Planning Commission has approved this request, as I mentioned, 2 times before, and it needs to be consistent with the development code. Those prior approvals were consistent with conditions of approval, and this proposal, staff is proposing the same conditions as prior approvals. Next slide. So those conditions, again, any undergrounding of any utilities, if they need an erosion or sediment control permit, if they were doing any improvements over 500 feet, they would need to get those. The grease removal requirement within the particular facility, and this comes in 2 pieces actually. There's an Oregon Plumbing Code requirement, and then there's an actual local ordinance for the grease trap removal. And that they need to show compliance with any exterior lighting. So we have a 0.5 candle foot lighting requirement at the property perimeter. And in prior approvals is that they were providing basically down lighting underneath some canopy areas on the proposal, and that's in your application packet as well. Next slide. So the staff's recommendation on this one is to move to adopt Planning Commission Order 2021-09 with the conditions I've listed for CUP 21-0006 at 1015 North Springbrook Road. That is staff's presentation.
Thank you, sir. So let's move on to public testimony. Is there anyone that's a proponent of the proposal that would like to speak now?
I think Mr. Stewart will be in the meeting this evening, and there he is. Anthony, good to see you.
Good evening, everybody. Apologies if I have a couple of breakups here. If anytime I need to repeat anything, I can. I just have not a great internet signal right now. As Mr. Rux has shared with everybody, we've been through this process twice before. We remain grateful. Myself and the team of Ralston and Ralston, the same affiliated principals with Western Oregon Dispensary, have been in the community for a number of years now and continue to appreciate the Planning Commission's efforts here. We are hoping that this will be the final revisit here. Not that we don't like working with the city staff, but hopefully this is our last time, and this final 1-year extension will get us through OLCC approval. Here to answer any questions whatsoever. We are grateful of the efforts the whole planning team did for adding Chipotle nearby. It's been a godsend, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And just a quick question. It sounds like you've been through, this is round 3. Is it just, it's just bureaucracy at OLCC holding you up, or?
It's been a funny combination of things. For the first 2 years, it was the ongoing backlog with OLCC in reviewing new applications. This application has been submitted for a few years. And then right along with the rest of Oregon experiencing the delays that everybody's experiencing with construction contractors, supplies, and supply chains. Those issues are finally coming and merging and should be ending here shortly. So again, we're hopeful this will be the last time we have to go through this process and we get the everything done in this next 12 months.
Understood. There's a lot of things not operating quickly these days, to say the least. So thank you. Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, Planning Commissioner Wright. I noticed that you said that they're going to be exclusively working with edibles. Will that be including things like gases and hexachromovalent, those types of gases?
I'm not familiar with the specific chemical component that you mentioned, but the application, yes, does include a request as part of this approval for the 4 endorsements that OLCC provides. There is an extractions, a concentrates, an edibles, and a topicals endorsement. And there is also a hemp certification, which allows for the processing of Oregon Department of Agriculture regulated hemp products as well. The ODA, Oregon Department of Agriculture, and the OLCC, the Liquor and Cannabis Commission, have been fusing a lot of their efforts for regulating the processing of these products, as well as the growing and transmission in and out of the state, especially on the hemp side. So yes, it may include a number of different ways to process cannabis. The primary intent, as has been the case in the prior 2 conditional use permits, is to produce edibles, things for human consumption. So they are tested. They have to reach the highest level of OLCC safety requirements because it is intended for human consumption. But the request does include the opportunity to create the precursor products from hemp or cannabis through the OLCC system that may be through the use of higher pressure or temperatures, or through the use of non-high temperature or pressure with chemicals like alcohol or other solvents. It's very important to know that your authorization here, which was granted before, as Mr. Rux had shared, is the first line, and this is the land use compatibility component. All of these activities, whether or not it's with pressure or temperature, high or low, are regulated and subjected to some very specific regulations from OLCC. And each of those, my clients, Ralston and Ralston and their affiliates, will follow to a T.
All right, yeah. I've also looked up their company and I've found no complaints or anything, just a reformation recently where their previous manager is no longer. So all that's intact. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak in support?
Seeing no one.
No one? Okay, is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to the proposal?
Also seeing no one.
Okay, at this time, let's go ahead and close the public testimony and ask for any final comments from staff.
So staff's recommendation on this particular case is to adopt order number 2021-09.
Thank you. Let's move on to deliberation of commission members. So anyone have anything they'd like to say?
Nope.
No.
Yeah,
I
one.
think they've done an excellent, I think they've actually done an excellent job over time in addressing some of the issues associated with this, some of the dangers. And stuff like that with their building design and layout, everything. I think they've done their due diligence. And I'm appreciative of their coming to Newberg and applying this kind of technology in business, because I know it's deficient in the these types of facilities. I know have a deficiency in the state. But thank you. That's all the comments.
So we seem to have lost our chair.
Uh-huh. Can I go ahead and do a motion to approve, Doug, without him here?
Who have we lost?
We lost Jeffrey.
Let me see if he's still here. Oh,
He said he might have trouble.
yeah, no, I don't see him.
Okay,
Got
so
cut off.
Robert's the vice chair, so Robert is the one who can ask for the motion.
Yes, you can make a motion.
Planning Commissioner Wright moves to approve order 2021-009, CUP 21-006, including attachments A and B. Moves to approve.
I'll second that.
Would you like me to state that over?
No, we got a second from Sharon.
Okay.
So at this point, we just need to do a roll call vote.
Okay. Jason Dale,
Yes.
Robert Sherry,
Yes.
Charles Aben,
Yes.
Chris Wright,
Yes.
Sharon Capri,
Yes.
Jeffrey Musall.
He is disconnected.
He's still disconnected, so we still have 5 yeses.
5-0.
Oh, Robert is back on again. One moment. Should be showing up here. Oh, it wasn't Robert we lost.
It was Jeffrey.
Jeffrey. Yeah, I don't see Jeffrey. Sorry.
Okay. So motion passed 5-0. So, Mr. Vice Chair, we are on to items from staff. So if you don't mind, I'll just jump in. So you have your forward calendar looking at cases that are coming up next month. Actually, it will be on November 10th. We had to change the date because November 11th is a holiday. So we'll be meeting on a Wednesday afternoon at 7 p.m. rather than a Thursday. You have 2 cases in front of you. One will be a quasi-judicial hearing for an annexation in the Riverfront area. So always a reminder, when you're at Fred Meyer around town, somebody wants to talk to you, please direct them back to city staff and we will answer their questions. So you don't have ex parte communications. And the other one is a legislative matter on middle housing. So the last time you touched this, was back in June when you did the joint work session with the city council. We were talking about triplexes, quadplexes, cottage clusters, and townhomes. So we'll be bringing that final proposal forward to you. Things have changed since packet went out on the December 9th. Right now, the only thing we have is to give you a potential briefing on an urban reserve application. It's not a case that goes before you. It actually goes to the Newberg Urban Area Management Commission. The other cases that were scheduled for that night are going to get moved into 2022. As a reminder, is that your January meeting will be the election of a new chair and vice chair for the calendar year. I also need to note that Commissioner Sherry, this is his last evening with us. He is relocating out of the community. I can let him explain. But Robert and I met the other day and talked through, but this will be his last meeting. He's officially provided his resignation to me, which got forwarded to the mayor and our city council members. So Commissioner Sherry, I'll turn it over to you. Your audio's off, Robert.
Yeah. First, I want to apologize for not being at the last meeting. I've been very busy with a lot of stuff, and I just forgot all about it. And I want to apologize for that. Now, my wife and I are moving the end of the month up to Battleground, Washington. We've lived here in Newberg now 14 years, and we now have 2 grandsons, and we don't see them enough. So they're 5 and 9, and we decided we need to spend more time with them. Their mother's very busy. She's a primary care doctor, and she's the one who instigated this. And we decided to go ahead and have a new house built and live in the city.
Well, thank you for your time and your service, Robert. Appreciate it very much.
As I told you, when I met with you, I've really enjoyed working with you guys. Yeah, this is kind of fun for me.
Again, thank you, Robert. You definitely had some good insights over the different meetings.
Oh, well, thank you.
Well, Robert, this Commissioner Wright, if you ever get to seeing some of the dahlias up there, my family is actually the president of the Dahlia Society up there.
Well, you ought to come by our current residents. We have probably 100 of them.
Oh my goodness.
Awesome.
My wife loves them.
For the bees. The bees love them.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
They do.
All right.
I'll remember that, Chris. Check it out.
So, Mr. Chair, we are now at the point on the agenda of items from commissioners.
Yeah, my apologies. I dropped there for a little while, but I'm back now. So does any commissioners have anything they'd like to talk about or discuss or offer up?
Actually, I do. I had somebody come to my door the other day. I was not there, but they said they were trying to gather enough signatures to recall a commissioner. Not one of ours, but of Yam Hill, because they blocked something about the urban reserve. Am I getting this right, Doug? And now the city of Newberg has to pay back $1.2 million. Is this correct?
No.
Do you know anything about this?
I am going to be tempered in my comments. So there is a group who has initiated a recall effort against one of the county commissioners. And I will leave it at that.
Okay.
On the urban renewal program that we had proposed, and I had briefed you many times as we were developing that particular proposal went forward to the Board of Commissioners, and in July, on July 29th, they adopted a resolution approving the urban renewal plan with a condition that it had to go to a vote of the Newberg residents. The city council held their first hearing in their first meeting in August on the ordinance for the urban renewal. They held over the second reading of that ordinance until October 18th, which is coming up on Monday. In the interim, they had adopted a resolution to go to a vote on November 1st of 2021. That resolution was reconsidered at their next meeting in November, and they chose not to go to a vote on November 1st of 2021.
Okay. So not at this time, it's going for a vote.
No, it is not.
It's not. Okay. All right, thank you. That was it.
Okay, so our chair has dropped off again. So our vice chair gets to the pleasure of taking his final action by adjourning the meeting.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
Thank you.